Today I'm going to share with you a little bit of my OCD journey. A little trigger warning is if you have OCD, counting OCD, please know that that's what I'm going to talk about. The reason why I share here on this channel about my mental health is in case it could help other people. Maybe you're like me 20 years ago or more than 20 years ago when I started realizing that I had OCD, counting OCD to be specific. I didn't know the name of it back then. I was living in Spain and therapists were not giving a name to what I explained to them and what I'm going to explain to you. Maybe you have this kind of OCD, or maybe somebody you know has this kind of OCD. The way it happened to me was that somebody would be talking and I would kind of tune out and start counting in my head. And the way I did it was with this pattern: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 1, 2, 3, 4. In the time that I'm doing this mentally, the other person is giving some explanation or saying something to me. I have checked out. And so that's where, for me, the counting OCD became a problem, because I would use it, now I can see it, but I would use it to escape my reality. So if I had to be paying attention to something, perhaps I was supposed to be concentrating on studying or working or even watching a movie. And where that became a problem for me was because instead of focusing on that, my brain was doing something entirely different, which was focusing on counting. And that's when I realized there was something that I had to address, because it wasn't just regular counting, it was obsessive counting almost all the time. Unfortunately, when I explained that to a therapist, she didn't really know what to make of it. We've come a long way since then. But back then it made me feel weird. I was even embarrassed of telling other people what was going through my brain while they were talking to me. That kind of evolved into other forms of counting. For example, looking out the window and, I don't know, counting the number of plants that were in the neighbor's patio, or walking down the street and counting the parked cars. It still happens, not to the degree that it used to. But nowadays, sometimes I still find myself counting tiles as I walk on the street. And I try to put my feet inside those tiles and not step on the cracks. This only becomes an issue when it is the predominant thought. Like if maybe I catch myself now doing it, and then I have coping mechanisms like focusing on my breath because I practice yoga. So for me, and please know this is not medical advice, this is just me, a yoga teacher, explaining what I do to keep my thoughts focused. I will maybe focus on my breath and tell myself, oh, you are counting. Let's bring your attention somewhere else. For people who don't have an issue with OCD, they might think, well, counting is, what's the big deal about counting? I suppose that's fine to count things, but it's not fine when you realize, or I realize, that it's a mechanism that is taking me away from the present moment. For example, my husband and I work together, and sometimes, often actually, we have to talk about finances. Well, I've noticed that when we're talking about money, I start counting in my head. And this means that I am not listening to what he says, and there I am in my little world counting while he thinks that I'm paying attention to what he is telling me. I've checked out, so we're not really having a conversation. And that is where, to me, my counting OCD becomes a problem. Another way my counting OCD has manifested is by doing things in threes. Maybe you do them in other patterns. It's called patterning. And for me, I will do things or try to do things 3 times. Say that I bump into the bed while I'm walking across the room twice. I need to do it a third time to make it right. What does that mean? I don't know. It just makes me feel unbalanced, and that doing the thing a third time, like three's the charm, just makes things kind of fall back into place, and I feel more complete. My message to you is that, first of all, you are not alone. I'm not alone. I recently found that 1 in 40 people suffer from some form of OCD. The good news is that there is treatment available. I really hope that you get the treatment that you need. If you like this video, please like it, share it, subscribe to my channel, comment, and please check out my other videos as well.